and welcome back to the 23rd World Education Summit, the Higher Education Edition. And we are now on the third panel discussion for day two, and the panel discussion topic is international collaborations for building future ready workforce, a global perspective. I am Tarannu Manjul, and I'm the assistant editor at Elets Technomedia. And with me, I have some eminent educationists who will be deliberating on this topic with me. With me, I would like to welcome Engineer B.S. Yadav, Chancellor, the IES University, Bhopal. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Professor Abhilasha Singh, Vice President, Academic Affairs, the American University in the Emirates, UAE. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Burju Irin, Director, Student Affairs Department, Gulf Medical University, UAE. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Anand S., Director of Postgraduate Studies and Research, College of Banking and Financial Studies, Oman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So, not taking much time with the discussion, I would like to put the first question to Engineer B.S. Yadav, sir. Sir, how has the pandemic brought the global minds together to create the workforce of the future?
So thank you. As far as pandemic is concerned, so we have seen many issues during pandemic, but best part of from this education perspective, there is a lot of exposure and utility of this online education. And this online education gives the access to the student and faculties in terms of global certification programs and learning from best practices across the globe, the industry players also. So I think this is the best part of this pandemic, which is helping the education. As far as our country is concerned, I think Indian education is now becomes a very big sector in terms of providing a global standard this education. So as a stakeholder, we are new age university. So if we I see my university, so we are trying our best in terms of going for a global linkage and providing best of the education which is possible. And one more part I see in terms of Indian education system, because in India this affordability of the student cost of this education is very important. From that perspective, also this pandemic and this online education. So this is going to be a cheaper one, and this is also providing alternative of this formal education. So I think this blended education will be the this I think whole way for next decade to learn best practices and good education. This is my view.
Thank you so much, sir, for that opening comment. And now the question would be to Professor Abhilasha Singh. Ma'am, in your opinion, what are the skills that you think are required to create a workforce of the future?
Thank you, Taranum, for that question. And before I start, at the outset, let me congratulate Elets for always bringing the creators of tomorrow at one place. Congratulations on this 23rd World Education Summit. Many congratulations. Uh, let me start with something which has been also mentioned by the previous speaker, that we all will agree that COVID-19 pandemic, it has showed us the harsh realities of higher education. And like our students, our institutions, we all went through existential crisis. We tried our best to adapt to the change, but I'm sure that all of us, the other panelists will also echo with me, that we were not ready for the deep pedagogical transformation and change. So more and more we notice that the need is to adopt the digitization and automation technologies, which has accelerated in the past 2 years. It was always required, but it is more and more required. The teaching pedagogies have been changed. So we are kind of envisioning, if in the education system, which is always considered to be very rigid, which is considered to be bureaucratic, if we are envisioning a hyper hybrid campus, I think this is the right time to take international collaboration on a serious note for building future ready workforce, which we all are looking forward. Now,
Thank you so
if we
much,
if
ma'am.
you look just one more point, and then I will leave the floor to you.
Yeah.
If you look at the
I actually
if you
lost
look
the
at
audio. I lost the audio. So sorry.
Okay,
I lost
sorry,
the audio.
because your question was more related to the skills required for the workforce of the future, and I just want to say that digitization, AI technology is going to definitely dominate. There was a statement given by a report which came from McKinsey, and which has mentioned that the entire skills will be divided into four parts: so cognitive, digital, interpersonal, and self leadership. And if we are looking for a very sustainable society, these skills will definitely be required. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm so sorry. Actually, I lost audio. I thought the audio is gone. We are joined by Ms. Deema Rachid Jamali, the Dean of School of Business, University of Sharjah, UAE. I would like to welcome her. Welcome, Deema, ma'am. And I'm also joined by Dr. Christopher Abraham, CEO and Head Dubai Campus, SPJN School of Global Management, Dubai. Welcome to you, sir, as well. And now my question is to Dr. Anand. Dr. Anand, like, and since we are talking about the workforce of the future, do you think that our campuses, especially in India, are ready for this? And how much of global campuses can, collaborate with Indian campuses to create this workforce of the future?
Okay. Good afternoon. Namaste to you all. So, thank you very much for the invitation, and I also congratulate the elites for organizing such a wonderful event. And coming to the global collaborations, I think this pandemic has reduced the digital divide, and it has created more digital awareness among all the people. So today, the pandemic has created connectedness among so many talents, not only organizations, among the across the world. So because of the reduction in digital device as well as digital transformation, so that has given more opportunity for collaborations. So what I wanted to say, highlight here is when it comes to international arena. So as the previous speaker said, the hybrid model will help us to make a good collaboration. Like in order to bring the people from the international talents to a particular place, there will be a more cost. But today, the knowledge transfer is more cheaper than ever. Like for example, we have been organizing international webinars so that so many international speakers, highly caliber speakers, are sharing their knowledge, not just for our college, it's across the world. So the knowledge transfer process will be cheaper and more effective because of the reduction in digital device as well as the connectedness among the organizations as well as faculty members across the world. And it is now very easier to run a high quality training, webinars, symposium, as well as international collaborations, etc., than before. And the pandemic has created one more advantage, that networking. So the networking has now be becoming more easier and more faster and more convenient. So this pandemic has developed more tech savvy people. As a result, the connectedness among the organization as well as international professors has increased. So that in our college, I can notice that the during the pandemic, because of this connection, the research publication has almost doubled comparatively before pandemic. So last year we have got all-time high publication. Why it happened? Because they have developed a good network, international researchers. So that has resulted with high number of publications. Even we have been publishing edited book every year. So this time we got all-time high publications because we have now connected very well with the international forum because of various online programs and activities. So now even online teaching is also giving an opportunity to bring international professors, not physically, by connecting with the institute. So the collaborations will be more easier than before. So, and moreover, community reach as well as community reach is more easier now because there is a effective use of the social media. For example, most of the universities are coming live at the time of promoting their program, or maybe interacting with their alumni network, or maybe interacting with their parents. So social media utilization is more as well as more effective. So through social media, we are also connected very close to the stakeholders. So overall, what I wanted to tell here is the pandemic has led a digital transformation in higher education that has given a more and ample scope for future collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anand sir. And that was a very valid point. You said that the pandemic has actually given us a lot of scope for collaborations. Talking about collaborations, my next question would be to Bushu Irene, ma'am. And Miss Irene, if you can just tell us about, what kind of the, since you are from a medical university, when we are looking at collaborations, what kind of collaborations has your university done in terms of medical and health education?
Okay, I'd like to start with thanking again, Elets. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I'm truly honored to be on this platform along with other educational leaders in the country, in India, and also Oman. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed, we are a medical university, and what we've done is throughout the whole pandemic, we had to continue with our theory online and continue with our practice, hands-on training here on campus. It was very challenging, but that's how our curriculum works. And the ministry clearly told us you can send your students for the practice part here. And as far as our collaborations goes, obviously we have a lot of different international universities that work with us. The way that we collaborated is we understood that there are no boundaries. We definitely embraced the technology a lot more, and we all became more literate in a digital world. And so what we did was we invited all our universities that we work closely with, where we send our students for observationship trainings in the summer, to our webinars, which we conducted throughout the last, I would say, 2 years nonstop. We continued with our community engagement with our own hospitals, in Tumbe hospitals, as well as other hospitals with DHA in the country. I would say it was quite challenging when other university students were going home and ours were on campus learning hands-on training with practice, and we had to follow all the precautions. But we did, and I truly feel that I'm very, very, as part of the director of student affairs, I work closely with the students. I would say the most, and I make sure that their life is very much engaged, and that they don't just come and learn, and they work on their soft skills and other skills as well. And what I did was we turned everything to basically e-learning, whatever the clubs we had, all the associations, we just put an E in front of it, and we just resumed with the work that we do. Yeah, I mean, we continue with our hybrid learning, blended learning, and our students were very flexible, and they've adopted the situation really well, which makes me also very happy and glad to know that they are indeed more prepared for the real world. Because once they graduate, now they'll understand that anything is possible, and they have to acquire all the skills to be and ready for anything and everything after this pandemic. So we are indeed creating more heroes, and I'm super proud of that. And pandemic definitely made it even more clear that the healthcare care professionals are indeed the forefront in all of this. So for me to be part of this and to witness the achievements we've done as a medical university really made me happy.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And that was very nice of you to share these experiences. My question now would be to Dr. Christopher Abraham. Dr. Abraham, what have been your key takeaways of the collaborations that your institute must have formed during the pandemic?
Interesting question. First of all, I need to thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. A lot of people miss it, so thank you so much for that. To start with, I think we have taken this concept of global intelligence to a different level many years back. So I've been part of the founding team of SP Jain School of Global Management, and currently, as you know, we have campuses in Dubai, Singapore, Sydney, Mumbai, and our latest campus in London. And as we speak, we are setting up another campus in Silicon Valley. So we are a global school in its context. Now, in each of these places, we do have strategic partnerships with partner schools and, of course, with other universities. I'll give you a very interesting example much before the pandemic. So we have tied up with the Milan University, which runs Europe's #1 master's program in luxury brand management. So it's a one-year program, and like our other programs, these are multi-campus programs. Our students start the first year in Dubai or Mumbai, and during the first 6 months, they spend it in Dubai or Mumbai. The next number one in masters in global, luxury management, and then they get placements. Recently, we tied up with the Illinois Institute of Technology. Again, this is on marketing analytics and artificial intelligence. So I think the way forward would be, as one of my colleagues said, the pandemic has made this much more possible. But much before the pandemic, we were having these conversations. Currently, we have partnership with 22 different universities, from York University in Canada to the Stockholm School of Economics, a whole range of universities across the world. And in each of these, we do different kinds of partnerships. It could be a program partnership, it could be a faculty exchange, it could be joint research, as he said. But in more ways than one, these international collaborations are making us much more meaningful, because today we are talking about the global community, students from different parts. Like, for example, we have a number of competitions, at the incubation, innovation, design thinking areas, where we have participants from different parts of the globe participating online because the platforms are available, and they partner with, let's say, students from different parts of the world. So we are talking about a global community, and as global strategist Parag Khanna would say, this is connectography, the geography of the world connected through technology. And this is inevitable, whether we like it or not. It's good in many ways, and of course it has its own detriments, it has its own demerits. But for us, from an academic collaboration perspective, it's taken us many notches high, because today, as many of you know, we are ranked among the top 100 in the world by Financial Times, top 20 in the world by Forbes, top 10 in the world by Times Higher Education and Wall Street Journal. And all of this has been possible because of the strategic international partnerships that we have with our partner universities and schools across the world. So that would be my opening remark.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abraham. That was a wonderful remark. In fact, I would like to continue this question with Ms. Deema Rachid Jamali as well. Ms. Jamali, if you can also share about the key takeaways of the collaborations that your institute has formed during the pandemic. Ma'am, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you very well, please.
Okay, so thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you as part of this panel. I'd like to begin by commenting on the skills that are required by students for the 21st century to be able to thrive. And I think that we have very good guidance from the World Economic Forum, where they identified 5 key skills for students to be able to thrive in the future job market, including critical thinking and problem solving, originality and creativity, leadership and societal impact, resilience and adaptability, and leveraging technology. I think it's very essential for schools and colleges around the world to begin to embrace this futuristic agenda, these skills, and to think about how to embed them more into the curriculum in extracurricular activities in order to be able to empower our students to thrive in the future job market. On collaboration, I think that we've all realized during the pandemic and beyond that collaboration is key. And for us, collaboration has been primarily with industry and with the private sector around specifically those skills that we're trying to nurture, mainly innovation, skills relating to innovation, leveraging technology. So we've done a few competitions, one with the Sharjah Chamber for Commerce and Industry around innovation and sustainability, and another competition around innovation with Innovation Box. So essentially, we have all kinds of international collaboration, but I'm very proud of the local and regional types of collaboration, and particularly collaboration with industry around specific skill sets, because this is a forum or path where students can learn most through actual engagement beyond the classroom. So I will leave it just there, but I just wanted to share my insights and my experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ms. Jamali. And coming back to Yadav sir now, Mr. B.S. Yadav now. Sir, What do you think are the key elements that define the key talent requisites for the future ready workforce?
See, in Indian perspective, this soft skills, I think, most important in terms of if we see this diversity in India. So for Hindi belt, it's the soft skills is very important. Then this domain skill is also important. So I think this mix up both skills and continuous mentoring and exposure. So as far as this global perspective is concerned, I think exposure is also most important for this. And as we are discussing on the digital education and this post-pandemic issue, I think all these parameter is important from institution point of view. So institution have to devise the policy in terms of giving all these key elements in their curricular. And I think NEP 2020 is also a great exposure in terms for Indian universities and institution to work on this.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, I would like to put this question across to Professor Abhilasha Singh as well. Ma'am, what do you think are the key requisites to create the what are the key elements to create the key talent requisites for the future ready workforce? If you're talking about future ready workforce now.
Uh, mm, uh, Thank you. Let me start with something before that. Uh, we all are witnessing a paradigm shift, right? And we know that we all are envisioning the university and the workforce of 21st century. When we look at the social fabric is also completely disrupted because millions of jobs are not going to exist in future. So we are, as I said earlier, we are known as creators of future, and it is our responsibility to create leaders who are agile, who are resilient, who are change makers, who are innovators for future proof, not only higher education, but for the workforce as well. So in the context of super complexity and uncertainty which we all are witnessing, it calls for more and more educational engagements which can go beyond the knowledge or skills. Just the accumulation or knowledge and skills is not going to work. Where there is a need for critical exchange, where there is a need to open the dialogue, uh, which should be common. So I strongly believe that there is a need to have students who are engaging with social issues because then they will be ready for the workforce, who are connecting the teaching with research to a broader social issues, I should say. And while we need a very resilient system, we need tools and infrastructure for risk mitigation, especially in case if this is going to happen in future, especially because of the changing landscape of education. And the only way out is to focus on global community. So instead of more and more competition, we need more and more collaboration. If you look at some of the reports, because we know that the transformation driven by the forces of disruption, such as advances in technology, the demographic shifts, the changes in the careers, this is all happening. So as an educational institutions, I mean, pandemic, as everyone has, other panelists has also mentioned, it basically gave us a very good opportunity. So, I mean, as per the World Economic Forum, the data, if you look at 2022 data, 42% of the core skills to perform the current existing jobs are expected to change. And more than 1 billion people will be required to be reskilled by 2030, right? So upskilling, reskilling, micro credentials, these are becoming more and more important. And that is where the higher education sector and the institutions are currently focusing on.
Thank you, Abhilasha ma'am. And now that we are talking about higher education institutions and the focus of the higher education institutions, I would like to ask Dr. Christopher Abraham. Dr. Abraham, you belong to SPJN School of Global Management, and SPJN has a lot of global campuses across the globe. How much do you think that international collaborations actually bring out the real skills of the students from different campuses? How have they been supporting the real skill building?
Okay, let me start with the research that was done at the beginning of the century. This was by Cornell University. Look at the relevance of the global mindset. What happens when people live and work and study in different geographies? So a fascinating simple experiment was done called the Dunker Candle problem. It was given to three categories of people. One who had spent all their life in one country, second group which had two country exposure, and a third group that had a multi-country exposure. 18% of the success rate. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So certainly global exposure, global intelligence is validated. My second one is from Harvard University, which did a study in 2010 to look at the intelligences required to survive and thrive in the 21st century. Right on top, among various other things, was this concept called global intelligence. Global intelligence is defined as the ability of a professional to not just survive but thrive in any cultural milieu, understanding the practices, the nuances, the leadership, and the business from, of course, the economic, political, social, and technological perspective. But I also want to bring in another important thing, which unfortunately we are not getting across as effectively to the students. The big message that we need to give them is the power of collaboration, which Dr. Abhilasha spoke about. But there's a lot of scientific validation about it. Last year, in the middle of a pandemic, there was a landmark best-selling book by a Dutch historian called, the book was very simply called Humankind. And what he tried to validate there is the power of collaboration has been part of humanity's growth over the centuries. Somehow we've got the script wrong. So the narrative is that we have to fight for survival, we have to conflict, we are survival of the fittest. I think we got that mechanics completely wrong. Today the power of compassion, the power of cooperation, the power of collaboration has been manifested. And today, because of the global connections possible, this connection, this communication, this compassion and collaboration can also stretch across different geographies. So I think that's a big message we need to give. The other important thing, apart from the skills that my respected colleague spoke about, which is a combination of both people skills and tech skills, is this big message that humanity will become extremely resilient and become better when there's a catastrophe. There's very interesting research by a professor called Schumpeter. It's called the Schumpeter waves. And every time there's a global calamity or a catastrophe, you find the percentage of innovations going up by leaps and bounds. India itself has a fascinating example. If you look at the startup ecosystem, the number of unicorns between 2012 and 2019 was a certain figure. Between 2020 and 21, in the middle of the pandemic, we had the largest number of unicorns coming up from India. I think the big message that we need to give our student communities is that come rain or shine, the power to thrive, the power to strive, and the power to survive will be part and parcel of our human DNA. What we as academicians need to do is to sensitize them about the power of balancing the right kind of skills in an increasingly challenging world. I'll finish it with just one perspective. A lot of us have heard of the VUCA world, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And we stop with that, and we scare the living daylights out of our children and students by saying it's a VUCA world. But let's turn the VUCA on its head. Yes, it's a VUCA world, but can volatility be addressed with the right vision, with the right perspectives? Can uncertainty be addressed with the right understanding of what's happening in the environment? Can we understand complexity by having more clarity in terms of our thinking? And can we address ambiguity with agility? So VUCA, yes, it is, but vision, understanding, clarity, and agility can prepare our students for a bright future. And last but not the least, it's a continuous process of learning, unlearning, and relearning. I think that would be what I'd like to say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abraham. In fact, you very rightly said that it's a continuous process of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And in fact, talking about the same process, I would like to ask Ms. Bushu Iron. Ms. Iron, do you think that the whole process of learning and unlearning can actually, when we have these collaborations, the whole process of unlearning and learning actually, it enhances the whole process, the collaborations, the international collaborations, or the collaborations between different institutions actually enhances the whole process of learning and unlearning.
I am so sorry, but I couldn't listen to the last part. It was very low. I was trying to hear, but can you please repeat the question? I heard collaborations a lot.
Yeah. I was asking that do you think the international collaborations, the collaborations between different institutions from different countries, actually help in enhancing the whole process of learning and unlearning for the students?
Absolutely, without a doubt. What we did before the pandemic was I would make sure 3 times in a year I would take the students abroad on different trips, on educational trips. And we've gone to hospitals in Korea, we've gone hospitals in Italy, so that students will have an exposure to how the medical field works in different countries. And the feedback has always amazing. And I don't know if you know this, but next week is spring break in the UAE. And I was under a lot of pressure saying, where are we going, Miss Burji? Where are we going to go? Which country are we visiting? And of course, for the last 2 years, I wasn't able to conduct any international trips. So we've decided to do a local trip next week. We're going to Abu Dhabi, our lovely capital here in the UAE. But the point is, why am I saying this? The exposure for our students to be able to go and observe other hospitals, in our case, as they're medical students, healthcare professionals, it's so vital for their learning to be able to meet doctors and nurses from other countries and how they practice. So absolutely, collaborations are a massive part of our work here at the university. We always strive to send our students to abroad opportunities for observationship and internship. And as well as here in the country, we are very blessed to be part of a group where we have our own pharmacies and hospitals. Of course, we collaborate with other hospitals in the nation, but I feel that our students are very fortunate to be able to know that they can actually get the right practice at our own hospitals in Tumbay University hospitals, as well as Tumbay pharmacies as the Gulf Medical University students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I would like to put a question across for Dr. Anand S. Dr. Anand, during the pandemic, I'm sure your institution must have also taken up a lot of collaborations, especially since technology enabled them. How far has your institute benefited from those collaborations? And if you can just share your experiences for the other panelists as well.
Central Bank of Oman. Our college is having a three different portfolio. One is teaching, training, and research. So we are the number one. No, we are the one and only the training center for all banks operating in Oman. So during pandemic, normally we used to run more than 300 training programs, both open as well as in-house, open as well as in-house training programs. But during for 3 years, we have not suffered anything by a loss of any training programs. So the training program was live through online, and even now I think in Oman almost pandemic restrictions and all over, but the whole thing is open. But still, some of the corporate are continue asking us to continue it on because that will help their employees without moving from their office. They can sit from their office. They can do the things. So that's one thing. So we have used technology very well. So earlier, most our employees not know about MS Teams, etc. So everything was face to face, campus based. So this particular pandemic has made a lot of digital in within the campus, and plus so this training for faculty as well as outsourced faculty. So earlier these the trainers used to come from across the world to conduct the training. During the pandemic, we have identified another model, that is a blended model of training. Henceforth, we are adopting a blended model so that we can bring lot of international talent at a lowest possible cost. So that's one thing. We have collaboration, the new collaboration. We have already got academic as well as training collaboration with leading universities plus training institutes. So that is going to enhance even more because of the technology, the technological adoption in our operation. Plus, we have also got a collaboration with the Frankfurt School of Finance, Banking and Finance, Queen School of Business, Strathclyde University, UK, and Bradford University, UK. Even including, we have also research partnership with the National Institute of Security Market, India. So these collaborations never affected during a pandemic. And plus, when it comes to teaching, so we have a collaboration with the University of Strathclyde plus Bradford, and plus we have also got a local collaborations. So we have been using these collaborations even for student engagement. So student engagement, we are using nowadays. We have introduced a new concept called Student Research Club, so that even during pandemic the students engagement has not been affected. So all our club activities happened with this technological adoption, plus in collaboration with the industry. Most of our training programs plus internship programs, everything happens with the industry partnership. So we have got a very good partnership with local industries. Our students are engaged for internship. Plus, we used to conduct in collaboration with local industries the camp this one job fair, and they used to come to our college. They will select the students for their job opportunity. So we have a collaboration with industry. We have a collaboration with academic institutions. We have also collaboration with some community organizations like some non-governmental organizations. So through those non-governmental organizations, our students are engaged in social services also. And plus, we have also collaboration with the international university professors, as I rightly mentioned in the beginning. So a lot of the professor, because of this technological innovation and pandemic, our faculty members developed a lot of network, because we have conducted I think more than say, six webinars. Even last week Thursday we have organized a webinar on meet the editors, so that internationally reputed A ranked, B ranked, C ranked journal editor in chief have participated in this particular program. And participants from 30 different countries across the world, more than 200 participants have participated in our college community engaged. This is a part of our community engagement as well as knowledge transfer initiative. So what I mean to say is, with this kind of optimum utilization of technology, we are continuously connected with the stakeholders. For example, as I told you, with our webinars, we used to normally we used to get a participation from 30 plus different countries. What's the result? We are transferring the knowledge. At the same time, we have positioned our CBFS brand also in the minds of the participants. So this is the way we are using technology very well for partnership. Plus, we are engaging industry, institutes, plus the NGOs for the purpose of academic training, research, and student engagement activities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anand. And moving over to the next question, I would like to ask Ms. Deema Rachid Jamali. Ma'am, what do you think have been the biggest challenges in creating these collaborations, especially during the pandemic? And how far do you think that these challenges will not exist post pandemic?
Thank you very much. I want to say basically the most important challenge that we faced during the pandemic is the restrictions on travel, because the student exchange during the pandemic was, much more limited, and our students did not have the opportunity to travel and experience other countries, other campuses, other educational systems. So there has been real restrictions on travel and immersion in other contexts. Having said this, on the positive side, what we tried to do during the pandemic was to leverage technology much more, as mentioned by the other speakers, especially in our classroom in terms of our teaching that is now much more technologically driven, with all kinds of innovations, with hybrid learning, with flipped classroom, with simulations and games, with all kinds of guest speakers and videos. So all of this has enriched the learning within the classroom. I want to end by saying classical education as we know it is behind us. I think what we have in front of us is a new model of education that is much more centered around leveraging technology properly. And now, hopefully, with the alleviating restrictions on travel and student exchange, we will be able to couple that with the international experience and the international exposure that is very much needed to make our students more rounded and more holistic and more international. I want to deeply apologize. I do have to exit from this panel because I have another commitment and they've been waiting for me. But it has been such a privilege to be with you this afternoon and to be able to contribute and to learn from the other speakers as well. And I wish you a great continuation of this. Have a great ending for this. And thank you again for including me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jamali, for being a part of this event. And she had to exit, but yes, we have our panelists here. And my next question would be to Professor Abhilasha Singh. Professor Singh, do you think that the blended and e-learning format has actually enriched these collaborations in a way. And if we look at the way forward, do you think that blended learning will actually be the way forward for collaborations as well? Ma'am, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. See, bearing in mind that purpose of any university is to produce and disseminate knowledge and also to engage with the community. So the vision of any university is expected to be rooted in the deep belief to support communities, to prosper, to thrive, to share expertise like we are doing now with industry, engaging with employers, collaborating, to ensure that our students are well educated in line with the current professional practice and industry standards. So the goal is always to produce graduates that can ideally uh, think effectively, critically. Now, during the pandemic, what we have experienced that the partnerships which we were having with other institutions, which were not very active, the pandemic was basically, it gave us an opportunity to collaborate with them more. We had partnership agreement with universities like George Mason University, Marymount University, Florida International University. We have partnership with the region, with American University in Cairo, with University of Jordan. So pandemic basically provided us a kind of opportunity to have joint training programs, webinars. You know that during the pandemic last 2 years, because we wanted to collaborate, a lot of webinars were made, and we all were basically enjoying those webinars. We learned a lot from those webinars. So it gave us an opportunity to collaborate more and more during the pandemic. Now, way forward is always going to be definitely hybrid mode of delivery. The one thing which we need to understand, that the bottom line is that we cannot leave the most pertinent issue of mismatch between the youth's skill and employer needs if it goes unaddressed, right? Especially considering the fourth industrial revolution. So digital technologies are helping us to collaborate. It's completely transforming our society, our economies, our job market, and of course our personal lives as well. So way forward is definitely going to be blended. Even in higher education sector, we all are expecting that it's going to be the blended mode of delivery. Traditionally, uh, we are a traditional university which offers all the courses in a face-to-face mode, but we transitioned and we are now delivering in a hybrid mode. So I definitely think that the collaboration will be made more effective. The partnership will be more effective because of digitalization, complete digitalization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. And my next question now would be to Dr. Christopher Abraham. Dr. Abraham, now we look at the way, since we are towards the end of the discussion and we are looking at the way forward. What do you think post pandemic is the best strategy to create more productive and fruitful collaborations amongst the institutions across the globe?
So I think the way forward, I think the pandemic has given us this great opportunity to collaborate. So that's a given. Now the next question is, how would we actually take these collaborations to the next level? I think there's one key word that I'd like to bring in that probably bridges the technology with the learning, and that word is engagement. I repeat, engagement. So what do we mean by that? You see, a lot of us have been familiar with meetings on StreamYard, on Zoom, on Google Meet, on Microsoft Teams. I think those platforms are very good for face-to-face discussions. But when it comes to learning, learning is a completely different ballgame, where the brain has to work in a different level to actually understand, assimilate, adapt, and probably use it later. So I think, how do we engage students in a global platform? So we are having students from different parts of the world, collaborations galore, but the key word is, how do you engage them? And that brings us to what we call the neuroscience of learning. Children learn in chunks, in bite-sized pieces. So if you're going to have a 90-minute lecture, sorry, you've already lost your audience. You may want to relook the whole concept of classroom interaction with bite-sized modules, Socratic method of reflections and questions, look at technology for polls and quizzes, look at, in fact, we did a very interesting experiment during the pandemic I'm running a course on leadership, I would have a leadership simulation. If I'm running a course on change management, I'd have a course on change management. But we have never tried it on the online format. Reluctantly and grudgingly, we looked into it, and boy, it was a great learning experience because what students were doing, they were getting engaged. So whether it's a 18-year-old at the undergrad level or a 45-year-old at the executive MBA level, all of them need that level of engagement. So as rightly said by my colleagues, hybrid is going to be the way forward, but we need to be extremely cautious in the execution of hybrid models because that's now become a fancy word. Everybody talks about it. But unless we engage participants, we have lost them, right? So I think in terms of the methodology, the pedagogy that we would engage in a classroom should be engaging, should be storytelling, should be, interactive, exercises, gamification, and probably I think the next level would be the metaverse. We are now talking about it, and a metaverse could completely, radically redesign and reimagine the whole concept of learning. Now, initially, it might sound like, let's say, child's play, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in that field with AR, VR, multiple realities coming in. So, immersive learning experience. Hybrid the way forward, but hybrid with the right kind of engagement, right kind of immersion, and the right kind of interaction. That would be the way forward. And of course, because of this new norm, as we call it, we are looking for much more collaborations, much more interactions with global communities across the world. My only wish and prayer is that we create a community across the world that doesn't fight and conflict, but works to collaborate and cooperate. If we as academics could do that, I think we would have created a remarkable influence on the future societies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abraham. And in fact, that this is actually bringing us closer to the end of this panel discussion. So, as a closing remark from all the panelists, I would just like to ask you one thing. What do you think can be the way forward, the best way forward to create better and fruitful collaborations amongst the academic institutions from across the globe? And what do you think that, how do you think that will benefit the students to become industry and future ready? If I can start off with Dr. Anand, if you can comment on this, sir, as your closing remark. So you are on mute. So you
Yes,
need to unmute,
one
sir.
minute. Yeah. So the new normal has now created the new normal will be technologically driven. So the future life, imagining the future life without technological adoption is impossible. So that's why what I wanted to tell you that the institutes or else institute should focus more on developing the skills which is imbibed with the technology. So if you may teach in literature, you may teach history, you may teach anything without the incorporation of technology, so such skills will be out in the future. So in the next few years, any education you can say which is not having a technology integration, such a skill will be outdated. So that's why that's the most important thing is the technology integration in the academic learning outcome is very important. Whatever the thing you are going to teach to the students, that's the one important thing. Another one is our student as well as our institutions as well as the students should be prepared to take to adopt the changes as well as take the challenges. So these are the two important things. The changes will be very rapid, not like earlier. So the earlier the changes used to happen in one phase, but today the changes are happening in a very rapid phase. So both institutions should be ready to change, adopt the changes, as well as accept these changes will create a challenge. So both students as well as institutions should be in a position to adopt the changes as well as ready to face it as a challenge. And as the Professor Chris rightly mentioned, there is no standard package of teaching or learning outcomes henceforth. So learn, relearn, and unlearn and relearn will be the common practice. So continuous learning will be the common thing will be in the future. Like in the olden days, the father's experience may be relevant to the son, and son's experience may be relevant to his next generation. And that has gone. Our own experience or skill may not be relevant to the next moment, next day. So that is why we should be always ready to adopt new skills new skill sets, new ideas, and a new kind of work environment. So the very important thing in the years to come. So the finally, I just wanted to tell you one thing, that overall the pandemic has created a short-term shocks, no doubt, but it has created lot of long-term trends. So this trend we have to identify in advance. What is the trend which is going to happen in the next few years? We have to identify that trends today, and we have to impart the right skill which may be required for our students in the future. So because what our student we are going to they are going to learn today, they are going to adopt tomorrow. So that's why we have to identify the next trend, what is going to happen tomorrow in the industry. So accordingly, we have to prepare our students today. That's it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And if I can have a closing remark from Ms. Bujo Irene as well, ma'am, what do you think would be the way forward to get the best fruitful and the best best collaborations between the institutions to have the best, the best reaction or the best enhancement for the student skills?
Okay, I would definitely agree with the rest of my colleagues here. What we need to do is we have all these collaborations, but how do you take it to another level so that our students can benefit in the best way possible? And I think we need to really foster productive dialogue, a healthy relationship with all our collaborations. Because we, after all, want to achieve the same goal: our students to learn and grow, and in our case, obviously, they be the best doctors possible in the world. So I believe the way we can achieve that is, again, foster really healthy dialogues with our fellow colleagues around the world, so that it actually reaches to a level where everyone can benefit. I'd like to thank you so much for this opportunity again, and that would be it for me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And in fact, that brings us to the wonderful discussion we've had today. And I would like to thank all our panelists for sparing time and coming for this discussion. And can I request my backend team to present the token of gratitude certificates for all our speakers now? A certificate from Ms. Dima Rashid Jamali. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of this event and for being a part of this panel discussion. She had to leave early, but thank you, ma'am, for being a part. One for Dr. Christopher Abraham. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this event and sharing your views. Your listening to you was really
Thank you
wonderful.
very much.
One for Ms. Bushu Irene. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of this event and for being a part of this panel discussion.
Thank you.
One for Dr. Anand S. Thank you, Dr. Anand, for being a part of this event and this panel discussion and sharing your views. One for Engineer B.S. Yadav. Thank you so much, sir. He also had to leave early because he was leaving for somewhere. But thank you so much, sir, for being a part of the event. Thank you so much, Professor Abhilasha Singh. This one is for you. And thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of this event and sparing some valuable moments with us for this
Thank
discussion.
you.
I would like to thank all my panelists once again and have a great day. And we have one more day to go tomorrow, and we have a lot of panel discussions. If you would like to be a part of them, you can be a part of them as delegates as well. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.